Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is TheIndyDad, and today we're looking at a game called A Case of Distrust. And I had to put my glasses on, and I advise you all to put your glasses on as well because it's a lot of reading. And this is the first look at this game for me, blind playthrough, as well as most of all the games I do. But anyways, let's just get into it. I awoke in my desk chair. Across from me were his piercing amber eyes. They surprised me at first, but I should have known that he'd be there. Dun dun dun. I stretched and said, mid-yawn, not very nice to sneak into a sleeping woman's apartment. Oh, I'm a woman, okay. But his stare just continued at me. I laughed at his glare. I cursed the open window. Well, I don't know what that means. I laughed at his glare. Well, actually, it's supposed to be a girl laugh, but whatever. I laughed at his glare. I'd seen San Francisco's shrewd thugs, hardened cops, and deadly politicians, but none could ever match that gaze. Must be a piercing gaze. I knew I didn't have what he... Oh, that's a knife. Oh, man, I came out nowhere. Okay, so I knew I didn't have what he wanted. Reaching into my coat, I took out my knife and flicked it open. I gave him the knife. I held the knife steady. I wonder if I gave him the knife means he just like, stabbed a guy. Well, I don't know. I held the knife steady. Let's just defend ourselves here. We don't need to get too crazy with it yet. Okay, so that's... I held the knife steady while staring back at him. Look, I said, nodding towards the desk. That's all there is. Take it or leave it. But a detective knows when she's beat. And I knew then. He wanted to search the place, and that's what he would do. I sighed. Knowing my weakness for his type. Alright, I said, let's look. What? Ooh. This is kinda cool. It's like a book. He let out a gleeful meow in victory. Oh, he was talking about a cat the entire time. That's good, that's clever. I cut a piece of my apple, and that's what she was referring to, that's all I got. Okay, so I cut a piece of my apple, and the cat had rejected. Oh, always a sore winner, I jabbed. But I was smiling too because I was telling the truth. There was absolutely no other food in my apartment. Alright. Oh, okay. So, alright. Let's see what's going on here. The cat often dropped by to scavenge. He made a lot of noise when he thought I was holding out on him. But right now, the place was clean and empty. Or, excuse me, was clean empty. No food anywhere. I had to prove it to him. Oh, we broke or something? We broke as a joke? Okay, so let's look at the book here. My old notebook, now filled to the brim. I wrote everything down. Even the minor details. Never know what could be helpful. That is very true. The first half had my old cases. Details from the beast I used to walk in my policewoman days. Of course, policewomen were forbidden from going on patrol, but Lewis often overlooked that. That rule. My kid is laughing or doing her. She does like this weird grunt thing where it's like, and I don't know why she does it, where she got it from, but she does that a lot. Okay, let's look at the lamp here. As you can hear, that lamp had belonged to my Uncle Lewis. He'd been an SFPD officer, one who argued policewomen could be good detectives. Well, that's sexist. Even while the others jeered at me, I knew he'd been right, excuse me. But my current workload didn't help that claim. I thought about Lewis. I tried not to. Let's try not to. I tried not to think about Lewis. I was lousy at handling the emotions behind those thoughts. All right, that's cool. There's the cat. Anything else touchable? We got the book. Okay, cat. The cat had waltzed into my apartment a few years earlier. A stray cat. Just let him in. He kept coming back, though there was rarely any morsel to eat. He'd continue his loud meowing until I proved him the place was empty of food. That damn cat. Doesn't matter how doe-eyed you are, cutie pie. We've got no food around, I told him. He licked his chops and looked at me. Apparently, he still didn't believe that. I needed to contradict him somehow. To show him something was in the apartment that would have to prove it was empty of food. Contradict, go back. Let's contradict. Case summary. Oh, there's a little demo case here. There were no cases just then, but the cat was meowing and needed attention. I had to contradict the cat by first talking to him, then pointing to a piece of evidence in my notebook that proved the apartment was empty of food. Goal, show the cat there's no food. Evidence. Home, desktop, lamp, okay. Mail notebook, and then just talks about everything. All right. Statements. Do we have a statement from the cat? No. All right, goals. Show the cat there's no food. Let's get it. The cat would continue his incessant meowing until I proved to him your apartment. Okay, we already talked about that. So you won't stop until I can show you there's no food, I asked him. Oh, goodness. He let out a loud meow in response. Well, all right, I sighed. I had to show him that the I kept was completely empty. Well, how do I contradict you? How do I prove this? How do I prove? Okay, wait. Used to contradict. Nothing to eat here, I told him. The cat let out a disagreeable meow. Apparently that didn't satisfy him. I had to show him, so go back. I went back to the apartment. Okay, so we got to search for more clues to show the cat. Yo, dude, we got no food in here. There's a bird. I kept a small statue underneath the side table. It had been police evidence in a crime, and its owner hadn't wanted it back. I took a shine to it, so I snagged it for myself and on the way out of the apartment. Alright, whatever this may be. I had taken copies of the old murder cases from the FPD records when I left. I loved reading through them, even though my own contributions were minimal at the time. I longed for these types of jobs. The truth was, any work was hard to find for a female detective. We already looked at the book. Ooh, what's all this? Is it the fridge? The regular white icebox, tinged with yellow with age, half blocked to the kitchen doorway. My income rarely kept much stocked in it, and right now it was empty. All right, there's our proof right there, eh? Hey, cat. The cat has bolted in my mark. Okay, so now talk to him. We got the proof right here, dude. The fridge is empty, homie. He licked his chops. Contradict, cat. Get ready to be contradicted. Let's get that fridge. Where are you at? Icebox. Well, I guess it's an icebox back in the day, so there it is. Used to contradict. I opened the icebox and said the cat could see inside. Oh, yeah, I opened the icebox so the cat can see inside, excuse me. Empty, I told him. The cat looked quizzically at me, at the open door, and then back at me. Sorry, fellow, there's no grub in here for me either. Oh, we're both starved to death. He stared at me with the eyes of disappointment as I felt. Those big yellows always got to my soul. Thoughts of my family filled my head. My sister, my parents, but never mind. Let's get our sister out of here. My sister Muriel had sent a letter with an update of her life in Chicago. She and her husband had just purchased a new home outside of the bluster of the city. Their 3 young children were looking forward to the move. I never told Muriel, but those letters I mostly ignored. That's sad. I never told Muriel, but those letters I mostly ignored at the time. Her family was the last thing I'd wanted to read about. My sister had an ordinary lifestyle that I had rejected. Oh, come on, we were just a jerk, weren't we? I'd wanted to change the world. I had wanted to change the world to bring justice for victims, especially the ones who no longer had a voice. That's respectable. Not that I was helping advance my case with any types of the cases coming, not that I helped my cause with the types of cases coming my way. My mind spiraled into a usual series of questions. Had I even impacted the women's movement? Had I made any change on society at all? Was my plodding career worth losing traditional happiness? Jeez, lady. What was the point in the life I had chosen? Man, she is just... her brain is just going on a whole like... oh. A loud meow from the cat snapped my thoughts back into the moment. I took a deep breath and grinned back at him. Jesus. Guess you can scram now, I said. Nobody's going to come knocking with food for you, fella. Poor kitty. Ooh. There immediately came banging on the front door beyond a nuisance. This cat was psychic too. You order out? I asked him. This is super duper cool the way that just happened. It's like a flip book, but like coming at you, popping out. In the doorway was a regrettably familiar face, Connor Green. I stared at him. I looked past him. His company turned my stomach. Let's just stare at him. I stared at him. Hired hand for whomever needed the job done, but Green snitched whenever he was put in the squeeze. So he's like, I'm gonna do the job, but guess what? If I get in trouble, I'm snitching you out. What a dirty bastard. Okay, so he would snitch when he was put in the squeeze. Working the beats, I remembered that all too well. Remarkably, the underground had been blind to it, but Green wasn't particularly assiduous. I was certain the criminal ranks would eventually plug him. He looked at me through the doorway with a coy smile. Well, ain't you gonna invite me inside? I let him through. I stared, closing the door. Oh, well, I think we gotta talk to him. Unless he's trying to hit me. Is he gonna kill me? I let him through the door before closing it. He said, hey now, he said, looking at my apartment. You know this clutter might turn off some customers. Maybe not me, though. That's his voice. That's what he sounds like. I don't know why. So that's his angle. Hiring me as a detective. I wonder what bootlegger would need with a private eye, but he answered without my prompt. I'll make this quick, you see. I can't take this to the hog house or the pigs would laugh me out. and the other dicks just aren't as tempting. His grin widened. Thought this was gonna be quick, I said, and I started rolling a cigarette. Rolling a cigarette back in the old days. It wasn't quick, and I'd already rolled and lighted a second smoke when Green finally finished his story. Holy crap. 2 cigarettes? You gotta roll them up yourself, too? That's a long time. I noted the important bits in my book. Ooh. And it started with a letter slipped under his door with a white envelope. The envelope contained a single typewritten leaf, which he handed to me. It read, "End your game, or we'll end you." Ooh. It had no signature, instead of ending with only a small scribble in the bottom right corner that resembled a black hand. Good lord. Can we check our notes then? Does it show evidence there? No, just those statements? Okay. So everything is like pretty much clickable. Okay, so we gotta go back to the story here. Green had a lead on a new running scheme. A connection from Vancouver. He'd given a sample to Tiny Paul, the gangster who ran the Tin Spoon speakeasy for mob boss Jerry Ferry. Tiny Paul and Jerry Ferry. They agreed to buy in for more. Green surmised the letter was about his rum running. He suspected Redstone Stable, another bootlegger, of sending the letter. He told me that the stable ran a barber shop during the day and gave me the address. He's a skis, man. Green needed to know who the threat was from. He'd get to Paul's gang to deal with them and continued his scheme to get rich. So he's like, yo, I'm going to push you under the bus, but I'm going to do it for my benefit. If I go snooping myself, he concluded, the folks see that I'm not trusting people. No trust leads to no customers. I need to play it low-key, which is where you come in. I raised an eyebrow and stared at him through the cigarette smoke. Something in his yarn was still twisted. He must have noticed my reticence, because he said, I work closely with Lewis. I'm sure he'd want to protect me as much as any other victim. Oh, this skis back. My uncle. What a skeezer. Lewis had put him on the force. He'd finally accepted Lewis's death. I was still searching for answers. I was still searching for answers after his death. He'd been a man obsessed with helping victims and bringing justice to those beyond salvation. That's an awesome thing to be obsessed with, though. I'm not going to lie. With that ethos, I never understood how he could have taken his own life. See, that doesn't make any sense. Realistically. These haunts haunted me. I'd quit the SFPD and started my own practice, taking his philosophy. Was Green worth my time? Would it be worth Lewis? Green had tipped off my uncle in a few cases. I wondered if it was enough to warrant my protection. Before I could think past my headache, he threw a bill in my lap. Keep the C note as a retainer, and don't worry about getting in touch. I'll find it later for a chat. Oh, we getting that money? He walked out the front door, and I let him go. If he was willing to give me $100 with no commitment, I wouldn't stop him. Right, you are. Never stop a person trying to give you $100 without commitment. Give me $100, I'm keeping that. I turned back to the apartment, still confused about the whole story. My headache wasn't helping either. Whenever I lacked clarity, a trip to the Southern Coffee was usually the cure. Caffeine will help headaches. It is proven. I mean, if you're addicted to coffee and caffeine in general, I used to get coffee headaches, when I had to have coffee in the morning. The newspaper was flopped on the floor, its headlines about the death of Lenin, leader of the Red Menace sweeping Russia. It seemed the Bolsheviks had lost their head. I wonder if that's real head. Like, did you actually lose your head? Because I feel like this game would have that. I mounted a gold blade on the outside that reads P.C. Malone, Private Investigator. Leave. Okay, that was the door. Ooh, I like this music, though. It's a dope beat. There's only one place I needed to clear my head. Southern Coffee. Southern Coffee was a basement dive. It wasn't modern, hip, nor even busy. It was my favorite place to do some paint, especially in the company of the best bartender in the city. Nice. Alright, we're here. I gave my address and slouched in the back seat of the taxi cab. I thought a good way to pass the journey might be to chat with the driver. Talk, don't. Well, if you think you should talk with him. He was young, not a teenager, but not far off. The redness in his face and a mean scowl told me he was angry. Don't much like driving taxi cabs? He looked quizzically at me through the rear view before understanding what I meant. No, lady. I like it right enough. Just some bozos for you were in here and he was giving me hell. Because I look like the boy his daughter's going with. Went off about how my generation was ruining America. That scumbag don't know jack. Sounds like you know. It wasn't much interesting. Sounds like you know about it. Sounds like you know more, I asked. I'm no genius, he replied, but talk to anyone from the last century and they'll tear off your ear just for being young. How'd they get so high, I wonder? Given the world in the 1890s, like a smooth-running roadster. Then what did they do? Bash in every curb in sight. Their greed, their war, their politics. Now they give us ruined clunker, and they're mad about our manners when we grab the keys. I agreed with him. The Great War was the hardest fought at home and abroad. I said the old man who put us there had some nerve. He replied hotly, and after those years, they tell us to get in line. It's a bum deal to me, sister. We're in the information age, and the news of the world is crap. They're just angry we can see their folly. The taxi cab rolled to a stop. Anyhow, the driver said, I almost said bus driver. The driver said, thanks for letting me blow off some steam. Have a good day, miss. I opened the car door and stepped out. I wonder if I'm a pretty lady. Southern Coffee was an automat diner. Ethel Burgess, the lone waitress, was friendly to help with any inquiry. Of course, if you winked at her right, she'd show you the way to the downstairs toilet where Frankie played bathroom attendant. Oh, good lord. Southern Coffee had the distinct feeling of home. Their familiar smell, mold, and old basement was enough to put a grin on my face. Well, that's good, I guess, and nothing better than feeling at home. The bar stools were crooked and worn. My usual one was the center of the room. I could sit on it for hours. If Frankie had a yarn to spin, of course the sauce helped me keep in place too. The sass. I grabbed the wine bottle on the bar and examined the label. It featured a picture of grapes and the words sacramental use only. Frankie looked at me with a spark in his eye and said, go ahead, he said. Give it a swig. Drink it. I grabbed the half-empty glass that had been next to the bottle, swirled it some its contents between my gums. A bit spicy, ain't it? Frankie asked. It's good, I nodded, shook my head too much. It's good. It's always good. It's good, I nodded and gulped the rest down. It'll cost you, too, he said with a smile, and he grabbed the bottle from me, turning it through his hands. Robbie's charged more than a nickel for this beauty. Only this type of Napa wine is made from that Zinfandel grape. It has a unique aroma. That must be a note, then, if she put in white. I've been trying to learn about wine. Seemed everyone knew their stuff but me. I noted that Frankie had said about the origin of the grape, and he sat the bottle back on the bar. So yeah, okay, so there's a nose. You don't even drink. Since when do you know grapes? Sure. You don't even drink, I chided. Frankie let out a bellied laugh. I can still enjoy the smell. Hey, that's true. He said there was a story behind teetotaling. But he cut short any talk about it, an odd relationship with the drink for barman. Frankie sighed. Too bad more folks can't know about it. The Women's League is the devil. The Women's Christian Temperance, aren't you done with the sauce? Let's go back to there. The Women's Christian Temperance Union was now under feminist Frances Willard, a positive force for the suffrage of women. But her staunch support of prohibition, along with the union's massive political clout, irked the very wet San Francisco public. Well, yeah, I mean, prohibition. And she particularly wasn't popular with the bartenders. I can only imagine. Take a seat, he said. I'll make you something else. He was a big fella. He'd been a decent pitcher. He'd been a decent pitcher for the Seals a few decades earlier. No idea who the Seals are. Sometimes he'd speak wistfully of those days, but his arms were much more used to slinging bottles now. I said at the bar, you got the spooks, PC? He asked. Your warrant is the catcher's mitt. I suppose my exhaustion showed. I won $100 for nothing, and I can't let it go. I told Frankie about the case, the threatening letter sent to Connor Green, how he assumed it was related to his bootlegging, and his suspicion of Redstone Stable. The story took longer than I'd wanted, Frankie showing genuine interest by asking many questions. When I finished, he threw me whiskey sour. Oh, that is my favorite drink in the world. If you take me out and you order me a whiskey sour, I'll be your best friend for life. He'd give in stir, and I took a large gulp and gave him a sigh as thanks. Oh, whiskey sour, so yum. My mouth is watering. Now all I want is whiskey sour. Well, Green's case is better than most of you what you're given, he said with some enthusiasm. At least it's not more of that adultery bunk. Sure, I replied, but I started with a goal in mind. What's the point in helping a man like Green? Frankie clicked his tongue on his teeth. Lawyer or priest? Why does it matter? Let me ask you, are the clients you have now the types you want to help? I admitted they weren't. I refused to it. I admitted they weren't and told him that I'd wanted more from my detective life. I could be that Green case shoots your career forward, Malone. Oh, it could be that Green's case. Jesus Christ. I sighed and started my drink. But my daze was interrupted by the basement door opening and slamming shut. A small, blustering woman began marching towards me. It looked younger, or she looked younger than me. She was wearing a... Okay. Well, I think this is a good time as ever to stop. I didn't realize how much time I was getting into this. Anyways, this is a Case of Distrust. I'll probably end up continue it down the road. I don't know how much longer I have on it, but I'm going to keep it going because this is really interesting, and I feel like I'm just reading a book, and it's kind of cool. The graphics are really cool and stylish. Everything is just kind of poppy, and the colors are nice. But either way, this has been the Indie Dad. If you like this video, leave a comment and a like. I would really appreciate it. And if you're new to my channel, please subscribe. It means the world. All right, guys, I'll talk to you all later. See ya.